How's it going, guys? Angus here from Makers Muse, and today's video is extremely special. We have gone past 25,000 subscribers on the Makers Muse YouTube page, and today is all about saying thank you and giving back to you guys who have supported me over the last few years here on YouTube. So I figured a lot of you guys have sort of come through in the last year or so and might not be familiar with sort of why I'm here and why I ended up on the internet talking about 3D printing in YouTube videos, like what's going on there. So I thought I might actually sort of do a bit of backstory as to where I came from and what I used to do as a job and what I do now. And at the end of it, we're going to have some giveaways, some pretty big ones. So let's get started. So I do find it quite ironic that I'm now running a YouTube channel with videos which are viewed by 25,000 subscribers when I was possibly one of the shyest kids in high school. I struggled horrendously with public speaking. I would get up in front of the class and I would just be shaking. I would be speaking really fast, and I still do struggle a little bit with speaking too quickly. And I also tend to gesture a lot and move my head a lot. And that's just how I am, and I know a few of you guys don't like it, but that's what it is. But it's pretty funny that I was one of the shyest kids in class, and then after high school, I actually hated high school. I actually spent a lot of my time in high school tinkering. So I started building combat robots and found the amazing Australian RoboWars community, and that kind of is what got me through those last few years. I would go home and just tinker and build robots, and my parents were so fantastic enough to give me space in their old storeroom under the house to convert into a tiny little warehouse, a tiny little workshop, which you might have seen in one of my very, very early videos, and I'd still film it today. My head hits the ceiling and everything, but I have built so many things in there, and that's been like my relaxation, my meditation for so many years, just tinkering and building. So after high school, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I didn't want to just go straight into university. I actually did get into engineering, but I didn't want to go straight into it. So my parents again suggested I looked at doing an apprenticeship in electronics, which I did. I actually went to a company called Inventus, who were in Caringbah, which is sort of Cronulla in Sydney. So, I mean, I'm in Bondi, and I would get up at 6 a.m. in the morning to go all the way to Caringbah by public transport to get there before 8:30 when I would start, and then I'd finish and come home, all for an amazing $7.50 an hour. And I did that for an entire year, working from the bottom up as this, this low-end apprentice, doing all the crap jobs. But I learned so much doing that because I was working with an amazing guy called Conrad, who I should get back in touch with because he taught me so much about troubleshooting electronics, designing PCBs, designing enclosures, and just general working with people in a team. I learned heaps about that in that job. And also I thought it was quite funny that we were working on an external PC, what do they call it? An external networking card, which was designed to be ruggedized, and I designed an enclosure, sheet metal enclosure, for this military grade networking card for a laptop, which ended up going to production. And I was 18 at the time, so that was pretty funny. But I had my first experience with 3D printed prototypes at that job, and I didn't know at the time what process it was. It was actually Z-Corp, so that's where you have a powder and a binder will infuse it. I remember the smell distinctly. It's a very strong, acrid smell of super glue or cryoacylate, whatever it's called, binder to make them stronger, which you do after the printing process. And I had my first experience with 3D printed prototypes at that job, but I didn't really know anything more about it. So after that, after a year of that, I figured, well, I'm not getting anywhere. By the end of this 4 years of it being an apprentice, I'm going to earn, like $60K a year max, and I'm going to hit like a ceiling. Forget that. And my mentor said, basically, Angus, you're too smart for this. Go do industrial design at a university. So I went to my friends who recommended different universities, and I originally was going to go to UNSW, which is University of New South Wales in Sydney, but I actually ended up going to UTS at a last-minute decision, mostly because of my dad, because he said UTS was funkier, which I do agree. It was a fantastic course, and I thought it was quite funny because in my interview to get into the course, I didn't do very well at school. Again, I didn't really pay much attention. I just drifted through because I didn't care about what I was being taught. And I actually got into the course because I impressed my tutor, who would be tutor during the course, with different types of steel grades that I recognized because of my combat robot building. So I could say, I recommend using this type of bisalloy steel because it's got a very high wear ratio, high wear rating, but it's actually quite soft in the middle so it won't crack under loads, and like stuff like that. And he was blown away by my knowledge of steel grades. So he decided to give me a chance. And I had a fantastic time during that degree. I used their workshop every single holidays. I'd come in, build robots. I miss those machines to this day. But that's when I started using 3D printing. And the 3D printing we would use would be on Stratasys machines, very expensive machines. And this was just at the cusp of 3D printers becoming cheaper. They were slowly becoming more accessible, but still, you'd have to build your own. It was a rep wrap. You'd have to make a rep wrap from scratch. You'd have to spend a lot of time tweaking it and troubleshooting it. So when the Up Mini came along, and a lot of you will know the Up Mini is my sort of favorite printer, it was my first 3D printer. And I got that because it was the most affordable printer I could get, which was ready to run. So it came onto the market around $1,300 Australian. I bought it pre-order, and thanks to 3D Printing Systems, who I still work with today, they organized to get me one quite quickly, which was awesome. And I got that machine, and within one term, it had paid itself off instead of using the university's machines to print things. That's because the Stratasys machines, they were charging us at cost for the consumables, but a consumable cartridge on the Stratasys, it's just like ABS polycarbonate mix, that costs like $1,000 versus $50 on a consumer printer. So by buying the Up Mini, and it's up on the shelf, I'm looking at it right now, it still works, it's a little bit old, a little bit run down, but it still functions. By buying that machine, it paid itself off within the first term I used it. And that opened my eyes. I was 3D printing at like 2 a.m. before project hand-ins, because I'm super organized like that, to print cable holders and things. So by the time I got to the final year of university, I was like, okay, I want to do a major project. And in industrial design at UTS, you used to do a major project for fourth year as an honours year. Now it's like 3 years plus an honours, but really it's still 4 years. And you have to do a major project. You have to design something from scratch that fills a need. And 3D printing got my attention. I wrote an entire dissertation on low-cost 3D printing in the home environment. That whole thing would be out of date by now, because I remember writing a paragraph about SLA. So SLA is stereolithography from 1986, I believe, which is a liquid resin-based 3D printing process with a laser that hardens those UV-sensitive liquid photopolymers. And it's a really old technology, very accurate, but at the time, the machines were very expensive. And even now, a professional SLA still is expensive. But what happened is, while I was writing that paragraph, the Form 1 launched on Kickstarter. So the entire justification of them being hundreds of thousands of dollars was suddenly completely inaccurate, because the Form 1 was $3,000 or something. So goodbye that paragraph. And by now, the whole thing would be completely irrelevant. That's how fast it changed. So by the time I got to the second half of the year, for the second semester, I was like, okay, I have to make a product. Why would I make another 3D printer that prints plastic? Everyone's doing it now. There's no point me doing it. So I decided to make a cake icing 3D printer. Or rather, I decided to try to make a cake icing 3D printer. So from scratch, I designed 2 machines. One which would be a functional prototype that would actually kind of work. No, stop. And one which would be not necessarily make it, but design enough in CAD that it could be manufactured, so what would actually be manufactured and sold on market. And that entire project, by the time I got to the end of it, my mentors said that they would have had like 3 industrial designers and 2 or more engineers working on that one project over the course of a year, but I did it in 3 months or something by myself. And I did get my functional prototype to work. I scraped it together. I had no money. I used like legit medical waste to build it. I got these stepper motors with Acme rods like built into them from medical waste equipment and used them for the Z-axis. So like, you couldn't eat anything off it. I mean, it did extrude chocolate, but you wouldn't want to touch it with a barge pole. But it did work. It did function. And I did try a lot of cool, completely wacky things on it, like a conveyor belt system for the Y. Like, so the idea is the cake could slide on, you ice it and it slides off again. I still don't know any machines with a conveyor belt. It actually worked pretty well. So it's an idea I'd like to revisit in future. But that entire thing just kickstarted this just snowballed this entire 3D printing journey I've gone on. So by the time I finished at uni, I didn't want to get it pigeonholed into a CAD monkey 3D design job, designing SolidWorks models all day. No thanks. I sort of tried a few jobs, worked at my old high school a bit, helping them set up 3D printers, worked at a laser cutting company called Bespoke Laser for about 6 months. They were really cool guys, but ultimately kind of went broke and then sold the company, all the assets. Another company called Beehive, which was a very early, actually before Bespoke, which was a laser cutting and 3D printing company, which I was an unpaid intern for. I learned how not to run a company by working with them. So that was good. They also wound down and ended up going broke. And then I met Stu, who opened up the 3D printing studio, which was in the Rocks. So that was part of the Rocks pop-up, had like $100 a week rent, like really rock bottom cheap rent. And we opened up a 3D printing studio there. So it was Stu and Howard, who were the partners who opened it up, bought the machines, so they put the capital in for the machines, and I helped them start printing things and designing things. I was their in-house resident designer. And that worked really well. I did that for about a year or two, about a year and a half. And then I wanted to move to Perth for a bit. And the reason behind that is my sweetheart lived in Perth. I was in a long-distance relationship for about 5 years by that point. So it just so happened that a guy called John wanted to open up a 3D printing studio in Perth, and he got in touch with Stu, and Stu saw the two things meet, and I moved to Perth to help open up the 3D printing studio in Perth. And I did that for 2 years, and printing on demand with low-end machines, I'll tell you now, was difficult. It was really hard. So ironically, I now own more machines personally than we ever had in the studio. John wasn't prepared to put the capital in for a high-end commercial 3D printer. And I do kind of understand why, because the justification to do that, I mean, you're looking at $30,000 for a basic entry-level U-print from Stratasys, and then like $300,000 or more for a Fortis or something a bit larger. People didn't want to pay cash. They didn't want to pay any money for 3D prints. They didn't understand why there was lines on them. They didn't understand the process. They didn't understand why I had to wait 48 hours. They wanted it to pick it up in an hour's time. It was an educational issue, and although we did run training classes that were really, really, really good, there just wasn't there wasn't the appreciation for the technology that should have been, and that really got me down. So I did have a YouTube channel, which I had posted 2 videos or so on, and that was Makers Muse. But then I thought, okay, I'm not really being appreciated at work. I'm doing a lot of stuff, just essentially running a company, but being paid peanuts. So I'm going to make a few tutorial videos just to help people and share my passion on 3D printing. And that first video was the Chivalry file fixing video. So that's where I ripped files from Chivalry, Medieval Warfare, and made a mini maul, which is a weapon from the game, and 3D printed it. And Hackaday caught a wind of that, and then the video views kind of exploded. And still today, there's like a massive spike on my views and subscribers from that point. And I thought, okay, that's pretty cool. People seem to appreciate what I'm doing. I'm going to make some more regular content. And from then on, I tried to make a video a week. Sometimes I slipped, but I wanted to share stuff on Mesh Mixer. I wanted to share stuff that I was being asked all the time. So people would come to the studio, ask the same question 10 times. And I thought, okay, clearly people want to know about this. I'll make a video on my channel. I borrowed 3D printers from 3D printing studios and then reviewed them, then brought them back the next day. Stuff like that. That's how I got access to the machines in the early days. People started offering me machines to review. So initially it was like, okay, I'll lend you this machine, or that sort of thing. I think the first large company that gave me a machine to keep was Shining 3D, and that was the 3D scanner, the turntable 3D scanner, which is the Einscan S, which is still a very high quality 3D scanning unit. And they were the first company to take a punt and be like, hey, Angus, we'll send this to you to review, and you can keep it. That was awesome. So from that point on, it kind of became a job, but I was working 2 jobs because I was doing 3D printing on YouTube, and then I was also working this kind of not very fun job in the retail space. So it came to about September, and I'd had enough. Basically, I'd go in not being motivated, didn't care. Machines were stuffed. Every day I'd come in like, that's failed, that's failed, that's failed, that's failed. Oh, hello customer, sorry your part's failed, it's not going to be ready for a week. Yep, you can be angry at me, I didn't do anything wrong, but that's fine. And I quit. And because I quit, and I was basically running the company, John decided to shut it down. And Tim at Frontier 3D, I've done a video from his studio there in Perth, took the assets. So Tim is a fantastic guy. And if you're in Perth looking for 3D printing, get in touch with Tim because he will not let you down. So that happened, and I thought, okay, 3D printing full-time on YouTube. I'll do some training on the side. I'll sell machines. Let's do it. Perth is not the place to do it at all. It's too far away. There's no fast internet where I was, and it's mostly the shipping times. The shipping times to Perth are like a week compared to Sydney, where it's like next day. And it's far more expensive. It's almost another country, despite being in the same country. So I decided to move back to Sydney, and that was a really hard decision, and I had to do it before my partner, so that was tough, and came back here to focus on videos full time, which is what I've been doing since January. And move forwards a bit, we're now at 25,000 subscribers, and my partner has come here. We've moved out to a place near the airport, so there's planes flying over every 5 seconds, and I am moving studios as well, which is going to be something really, really cool to announce soon. I can't say much more about it, but let's just say I'm going to have faster internet, and I'm going to be in a really cool environment. And it's all thanks to you guys, because I wouldn't be able to do this sort of thing without you watching the videos and you supporting me, because by watching these videos, by watching me unbox a printer, even if I hate it, you get the views in, and the company who sent it to me appreciates that, because then they see more people seeing their machine. And a great example would be Flexion. So the guys at Flexion sent me this extruder, and I don't think they expected much of an impact from my video, but my video for that extruder, because I gave it such high praise, it was the first extruder I've ever come across that printed 3D flexible materials really well, basically took out their production line. They sent an email saying, hey Angus, you sort of momentarily took down our ordering system, and also we now have a huge backlog of manufacturing to catch up with because we've got such an influx of orders. That's awesome. And that's only because of you guys. And that support for them supports me. And that's how I'm able to do this now, through your support and through my amazing industry partners. So that's where we are now, guys. And thank you for watching this video up to this point, if you're still here, because I love doing this. I love talking about 3D printing, but I also love talking about next generation technology. I call the channel Makers Muse because it's all about empowering creativity with next generation technologies, or rapid prototyping technologies, rapid manufacturing technologies, whatever you want to call them. As long as they empower your creativity in one way or another, I'm interested in looking at it. So yes, 3D printing is most of Makers Muse now, but it's not always going to be. There's new technologies that are starting to catch up now that are grabbing my attention. VR especially definitely has very relevant aspects to it when it comes to 3D design. Imagine if you could stand up and 3D paint like Google is working on. That's something that just blows my mind. And then there's other technologies like CNC, where you can actually machine out parts from metals or plastics. That's another amazing avenue that I want to look at. Circuit board design, machines that print circuit boards. Who knows, in 10 years we might have machines that print out fully working mobile phones. I don't know, but I do know I will be there to make videos about it and show you guys how it works and what I think about it. So thank you so much for watching, guys, and yes, you've stayed along for the ride, so let's get to the competition. So because of your support, industry partners for Makers Muse have come together, and I don't usually do giveaways, but this is something special. It's 1/4 of the 100,000 subscriber play button, which I do kind of want, but it's not about the numbers. But because of the amount of subscribers for the channel, I can now offer a giveaway. And it's not just one giveaway. I am giving away 3 3D printers, thanks to 3 amazing industry partners. So number 1 is the Tevo Tarantula 3D printing kit, thanks to Tevo. So this is the 3D printing kit I've been putting together slowly. It's over there in the corner. It is running. I just need to do some cable management with it. And so far, it's been a fantastic kit to put together. I will have a review on it soon, but I am giving away one of those kits thanks to Tevo, shipped anywhere in the world. So thank you so much to Tevo for that. That is pretty freaking awesome. And next we have the Up Mini 2 from Tiertime. So Tiertime got in touch and asked if I was willing to give away an Up Mini 2 on my channel to pretty much celebrate the launch of their new machine. The Up Mini, as I told you, I've been using the Up Mini for three more years now. It's still an amazing machine, and the Up Mini 2 is their next generation of that unit. So we are giving away one Up Mini 2 to a lucky winner anywhere in the world, thanks to Tiertime. So huge thanks to Tiertime for that, and I'm looking forward to seeing who wins it. And also, I will be reviewing an Up Mini 2 soon on the channel because, yeah, I mean, why not? It's a pretty natural progression for the Up printers I've been looking at so far. And last but certainly not least is the Wanhao Duplicator 6, thanks to Wanhao and the Ultimate 3D Printing Store. So this is a massive 3D printer, and I'm going to be reviewing it before I give it away, but I'm going to be responsible for shipping this one myself, which is possibly going to be problematic, but this is a huge machine, can be fully enclosed to print ABS and other high temperature materials. It is a beast, it's built like a tank, and I'm super keen to check it out myself, and anyone who wins this machine is going to be pretty lucky because it is by far the biggest out of the bunch. So a huge thanks to Wanhao for organising a Wanhao Duplicator 6 to give away, and also a massive thanks to the Ultimate 3D Printing Store for helping to organise it through Wanhao. Thanks so much guys, I really do appreciate it. So there you have it guys, 3 awesome printers that you can win, 3 chances to win a printer. All you need to do is follow the link in the video description to get to Gleam. So Gleam is a great way of collecting entries for a competition. A lot of the other guys on YouTube use it. All you need to do is go there and make sure you subscribe to the channel, and also there'll be some bonus subscriptions and Twitter follows and things to get extra bonus points so you have higher chances to win. And again, I am so appreciative of all of you guys watching my videos. I love doing this. I love making videos on tutorials, 3D printing reviews, tips and tricks, vlogs. I live and breathe this sort of technology, and I'm only able to do it with your support. So thank you so much guys, I hope you have a fantastic day, and I am off to the pub. See you later.